All right, class. Sorry about the clickbaity title, but I really think this is how you'll be able to succeed in my class. And if you follow these tips and ideas, I think you'll do really well. Um, so on your assignments folder, I put all of what I'm about to talk about. So if you understand that, you do not have to watch this video, but hopefully if you have some questions, I can answer them here. Um, So, your first discussion post, your initial post, is due Fridays by midnight. It's got to be 1,000 words minimum because this is such an accelerated class. If we had 16 weeks, I would give you more time and your post would be less, but we have 5 weeks, so we really need to get this done. So you can use the questions that I have underneath of your discussion post instructions. I highly recommend writing this in Google Docs so that you have it, and in case your computer dies or your power goes out, you don't lose it. It would really suck to get to like 900 words and then have to rewrite it all over again. So I recommend picking several poems from the chapters that are assigned. You do not have to stick with one. I recommend just picking a few that you really enjoyed and you want to go dig deep in. So some tips and ideas is make sure you specifically quote the lines that you're talking about because you're covering multiple chapters in this course really quickly. Not everyone is going to read every single poem that you're going to be talking about. So you need to give them the context in which you're talking about it so that they can respond to your post. So make sure that you quote the lines. A lot of these poems can be found on Google. So if you don't want to sit there and type out a bunch of lines, you should definitely just Google them and copy and paste them into your discussion. Make sure to try to put the poem in your own words so that you're able to kind of understand it. I recommend reading them a few times. Most of them are short. I prefer short poems myself, so I definitely recommend doing that. Also, you can research the poem or the poet. That has really helped me understand poetry. I would recommend looking at my vocab videos if you want the language needed to talk about poems. If you are unsure about that, I highly recommend that. I took a lot of time over the past few days getting those done. Hopefully you like them. If you don't, I can re-upload things. You can ask me questions. Definitely check them out, though, if you don't know, for instance, what alliteration is. It's worth checking out. You can also Google these things and do some research. Get the language you need to talk about these poems. If you can find the poet reading their work, I recommend listening to it. Sometimes I'm more of an auditory learner, so I highly recommend listening to the poems as you read them, or instead of reading them, you can listen to them first. And again, I want to highly stress, look at the vocab so that you understand what you need to talk about. Otherwise, some questions you can consider is like, what is the mood of the poem? So how did you react? How did you feel about it after reading it? And then what was the tone? So what was the author trying to get you to feel? And then what words or emphasis of words did the author use to cause you to believe this? So like, again, quote from the lines of the poem to talk about what made you feel sad reading it. What made you feel energized? What made you feel like the author was talking about a lost love? Like, find those lines, pick them out, put them in your reflection, and then talk about them. What does the poem make you think about? Does it relate to some of your experiences? I want to know about you a little bit in this course, and I want you to feel free to like say like, I really connected to this work because it reminded me of the time I moved out from Chicago to the suburbs and how hard that was to leave all my friends behind, like something like that. I don't know your experiences, so bring them to the table. What sets the poem apart as unique compared to other poems? So what makes this poem different than all the other poems you read? Like, what stands out to you? Highlight those parts. That'll really help your reflections. And then if you had the opportunity to ask the speaker questions, what would you ask them? or the author. So that just means like were you left confused by anything? That could help create a dialogue for when you have to comment on your peers' work. Meaning like when you have to provide your comments, it really helps to ask a question to get a discussion going. Have a dialogue, have a conversation with your classmates. Highly recommend that. You will be rewarded with a very good grade if you do that stuff. Some other things you can talk about: strengths, weaknesses, the vocabulary words. So like, how does the poet use alliteration, etc. Why'd you choose the poem? Why'd you pick it? These are kind of the basic questions that I would recommend using for your initial post. And then your comments are due Sundays by midnight. So in the comments, what I want you to do is acknowledge your classmates' ideas, meaning make them feel validated for the hard work they spent using those 1,000 words to talk about poetry in probably a very personal, interesting way, hopefully. So be encouraging. Build upon their posts with your feedback and commentary. So maybe you both covered the same poem. Well, talk about like your interpretation versus their interpretation. That can really help you with your posts. And then you can also conclude with a question for that classmate so that they can then respond. Again, I want to build a community in this class, so I want you to make sure that you are providing interesting questions and ideas for other people to bounce off of. Again, if we were all at like a dinner party or something, you don't want to be the person that's not talking to anyone, not doing anything. No one will engage with you unless you bring that stuff to the table. So make sure that you are providing stuff in your interpretation of the poem, in your reflection of the poem, that other people can engage with and have a dialogue over. You want to build this community through your posts. So with your peer comments, there should be a good sized paragraph. I just mean that it shouldn't be like 3 sentences or 2 sentences or just a couple words. Like, good work. You will not get full points with that. So make sure that you're commenting with a good sized paragraph. Again, it's all crunched together. So make sure that, you're doing your best. And I think you will definitely get an A. You'll definitely do well if you follow these tips and ideas. The main thing is show me that you're working on it. Show me that you're thinking about it. Ask me questions. There is, in the assignments folder, a place for you to ask questions, or if you have concerns. Always reach out through text or email to me. Let me know what's going on. Let me know what you're having troubles with. Let me know what's going through your head and what do you need help with. I'm here to help you. You are paying me to be here. I want to engage with this class. I'm excited to learn about you guys and your thoughts and interpretation of these poems that I've read a bunch, and I'm always surprised by what people respond with. So be creative, do your best, and you will do fine. You got this. You're going to do fantastic work in this class. I guarantee it. Okay? If you put in the effort, you will be rewarded. That's all I've got to say. So see you in the posts. Let me know if you have any questions. I will provide weekly videos answering your questions. So if you have them, let me know. And yeah, see you in class.